I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. But I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody will dare say to me then, eat in the kitchen. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. These words were penned by the great American poet Langston Hughes in 1925. This was the middle of the Jim Crow era, where people of color were denigrated to the rule of separate but equal law. During this period, there were separate drinking fountains, eating facilities, and many rules of conduct for people based on nothing other than the color of their skin. When Hughes spoke these words, he was longing for a day where America would no longer push him, an American of African descent, to the kitchen to eat his food, which was common in the Jim Crow era. On August 11th, a mob of angry men marched through the streets of Charlottesville, Virginia, carrying Nazi flags, Confederate flags, and ironically, the American flag, chanting Nazi slogans such as blood and soil and Jews will not replace us. This Unite the Right rally was a protest in response to the scheduled removal of Confederate monuments from the city center. In the following hours, an opposing group of protesters began to show up, and the next day, chaos ensued. In the aftermath of this, countless people were beaten and 3 people were dead, including one young lady who was ran through by a Dodge Challenger, driven by a young man who was a self-proclaimed white supremacist. If this would have happened in the midst of the civil rights movement of the 60s or in the era of Jim Crow, it would just be a sad memory of an era gone by. However, that was just 2 months ago. When asked what these men were so angry about, they remarked about how the white man was losing his place in America. If it wasn't such a dangerous situation, I would laugh at this concept considering the multitude of opportunities that continue to exist for heterosexual Caucasian males in our country. But this is a dangerous concept indeed. The truth is that the young man who ran his car into a group of counter-protesters was acting in the spirit of extreme hatred, and he was not alone. This group that calls themselves the alt-right is led by Richard Spencer, and it's much more supported than people are willing to admit in our country. This group has amassed a great following in the recent years as our country has become more and more splintered along the lines of race, class, and sexual orientation. This group prides itself openly in using racist rhetoric that harkens back to the rise of Hitler and Nazi Germany. In fact, the chant blood and soil is a direct descendant of the Nazi chant Blut und Boden, which refers to the idea that the more agricultural Germans, Aryans, built Germany and not any other group. Therefore, the land belonged to them. What makes our country great is the fact that we are a melting pot of races, religions, cultures, and immigrants. We view ourselves as the shining city on the hill, as President-elect John F. Kennedy once stated in a speech. But until we as a nation begin to fight against the blight that is institutionalized and accepted hate in our midst, then we can never live up to the credo that is supposed to unite us. For some reason, there's a segment of people who believe this country was made by and belongs to the heterosexual white male, and no one else has the right to thrive or succeed in this country. That's not an idea that I will ever agree to or espouse on my own. What is scary is that many of these pockets of thinking are becoming more and more emboldened as it continues to be proven that acts of this nature will go largely unpunished or even criticized from the highest office in our country. In response to this tragic event, attempts were made to deflect attention toward the group Antifa, which I hadn't even heard of until that tragic day or since that day. Since these things were said as if the fact that people came looking for a fight against such outright racism and anti-Semitism was somehow shocking. In fact, I would tell you it's the exact opposite. I believe that the purpose of this rally was the same that Dylann Roof hoped to accomplish when he heartlessly gunned down 9 people in the Emmanuel AME Church just a few miles away from here. They want to start a race war to reclaim what they believe is their country. These people believe that they can accomplish this largely based on the fact that they think that not only do they have the support of those who outwardly agree with them, but also the silence of those people who look like them. Though I truly believe most people to be non-racist and not believers of that way of thinking, I do know that many avoid discussions like this based on the fact that it's uncomfortable for them to deal with. They don't want to say the wrong things and be perceived in a way that they didn't intend from the beginning. Due to this, when they have that one family member who they know espouse these types of beliefs, they say nothing when that family member says or does something that they know is disrespectful to people of different races, religions, and sexual orientations. They may even play along or laugh as not to offend the person making the comment. In response to finding out about what happened in Charlottesville, people of all backgrounds came out to send a message that the type of hatred that was normal to be seen marching through the streets of Mississippi, Alabama, and even South Carolina in the Jim Crow era would no longer be tolerated. Do I agree with the methods? No. Do I understand? Definitely. Despite what I've spoken about tonight, I am still hopeful. Hopeful that one day fights like these will not be necessary. Hopeful that maybe my children's children won't have to worry about whether people who they deal with daily wish that they would just go back to Africa. Hopeful that the memories of the civil rights movement and the things that they fought for would no longer have relevance in our country. Hopeful that the tragedy in Charlottesville can become the wake-up that everybody needed to begin banding together against racism anytime it darkens our doorstep. Yes, I am hopeful. Imagine if we all decided that we no longer will tolerate the type of behavior anymore. What if we let people who think that making racist, sexist, or homophobic comments know that we are not only offended by their speech, but vehemently disagree? We can no longer sit back, politely smile, or close our eyes while our fellow Americans are being disrespected. I challenge each of you to stand up and say something the next time you're in a room with the person who is making those types of comments. That's if you think and you agree that the time for groups like the KKK and the alt-right is no more. Only if you believe that America is a country of people who do believe in the old song. Sing with me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to New York Island. From the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Still, I, like Langston Hughes, too sing America. Thank you.